Hey guys, Firebat here. Welcome to the One Night in Karazhan review number 5. Next up we have a 4 mana 3/6 for Priest. Whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health to your hero. So right off the bat, Priest has continually gotten these high health, low attack minions because Blizzard wants cards that synergize with the hero power, and you kind of need that to synergize with the hero power. Well, it synergizes with the hero power great, but it doesn't synergize with the cards in Priest at all. Priest can't utilize the high health and low attack because they have no buffs. They got Inner Fire, that's it. And they can't really, buff this up to then value trade. You're gonna have to run Shattered Sun Cleric or Argus in Priest or get value trades with this guy to really be able to kill anything. Meanwhile, your opponent's 4-drop is gonna be, any minion with 4 attack. And a 4/4, for example, you attack the 4/4. All right, generic 4/4 minion they played. They played Dark Iron Dwarf, not buffing anything on the board, into your Priest of the Feast. You have to trade into it, and then Holy Nova to kill their guy, or you got to trade into it. And if you heal your Priest of the Feast up for 2 after taking 4, it's back at 4 again. It's a 3/4, and they just trade their minion back into it. So now what do you do? Do you have to ignore the minion, go face? You got to run Holy Smite. You got a Holy Nova 1 minion. It gets really awkward with Priest to try and make this minion be able to trade with things. And that's the big problem with the card, and one of the big problems with the class is they just have no way to buff their high health minions, and all they keep getting printed is these high health minions that they can't take advantage of or use because they have no way to make the attack worth anything. So I don't think it's going to see any play. I think the effect is really irrelevant a lot of the times. You need some way to not fall behind on board. You're not really influencing the board state at all when restoring 3 health to your hero. It's just not worth very much mana to heal 3 health. Priest needs some way to recover the board and stay ahead and push tempo, and restoring health to your hero doesn't do any of that. I don't see this card seeing very much play at all, if any. Next up we have Deadly Fork. Deadly Fork is a 3 mana 3/2 Death Rattle, add a 3/2 weapon to your hand for Rogue. So 3/2 for 3 mana is just a loss in tempo. A 2 mana for 3/2 is oftentimes a loss in tempo. So when you're paying 3 mana for it, it's just garbage. Playing a 3 mana 3/2 weapon is a loss in tempo as well. Fiery War Axe is pretty good, but when you play King's Defender, you feel kind of bad about it. The earliest you're getting it out is turn 4, because you have to play this on turn 3. I guess you could coin this out sometimes. So 50% of the time when you have the coin, you can coin it out. If they kill it immediately, you can play the weapon on curve. Fiery War Axe is really bad off curve a lot of the times. It's just not a great weapon to have off curve. It doesn't really line up by itself to kill a lot of things, so you still need to play cards in conjunction with it to kill other things. So the timing that this weapon comes out is not great, and you've lost tempo playing the minion, and you've lost tempo playing the weapon, because they're both overcosted for what they're doing. And Rogue doesn't really have any AoE to make up for the tempo loss. You could play Blade Flurry if you really wanted, but it's not great. So and the ability to make up the tempo loss is really hard. So if you're going to be playing this card, you're going to need to be going face with a 3/2 weapon, I guess. Just Deadly Poison it and just trying to dome them and playing some sort of Death Rattle, Face Rush Rogue thing, which I don't think is going to be a real deck. I don't think this card's very good. It's just too expensive for what it's trying to do. Next up, we have the Wicked Witch Doctor. So this is a 4 mana 3/4 for Shaman. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random basic totem. The Wicked Witch Doctor plus spells plus Things from Below or Primal Fusion is the first combo that jumps out to me. You can play Wicked Witch Doctor and fire off a bunch of lightning bolts and then a Primal Fusion and then drop your Things from Below. And that's a pretty good turn. That's pretty cool. I think it's a little slow, but I think it's pretty cool. Only basic totems, so you can't cause the Tuskar auto-win effect. You can't rip, Mana Tide into Totem Golem, or just one of any of those, to just win the game instantly. And now the part that I haven't really seen too many people touch on in the forums and stuff like that is there's some Evolve Shaman potential here, because the totems, evolve into 2-drops. So it's better than Violet Teacher plus Evolve, because the Violet Teacher tokens cost 0. So, maybe there's some crazy Evolve Shaman potential here. And overall, I think the card's okay. I don't think it's going to make your deck better. I don't think it's really going to hurt your deck. I think if you want to play, Token Shaman, God bless. I think there's better forms of Shaman. But this isn't the worst card in the world. It's not the best card in the world. It's just an alright card. I don't see too much competitive play out of this card, because in competitive play, you only play the best cards. So next up, we have Spirit Claws. This is a 1 mana 1/3 weapon for Shaman, and it has +2 attack while you have spell damage. So spell damage cards to support this in the early game. If you play this on turn 1, you basically have Blood Mage and Kobold Geomancer. So you got 3 cards that you can rip for turn 2 to play this. If you run all 3 of the spell damage cards, you have about 25% chance to, full mulligan for, and by turn 2, to have Spirit Claws into spell damage minion. 25% of the time, it works out great. You get your Fiery War Axe and Shaman, you probably win the game. It's awesome. It's a good card for spell damage Shaman in general. Like, it doesn't have to be played on turn 1. It's only 1 mana, so you can weave it in with a lot of things and be pretty cool. Like turn 6, you play Azure Drake, and then play Spirit Claws. It's a pretty sweet effect. It's not bad. Problem is, does that make spell damage Shaman better than other Shaman synergy type decks? And I don't think the answer to that is yes. I think it's no. I think, Doomhammer going face is a better way to win the game than Azure Drake Spirit Claws hopefully kill a guy. So I think it's one of the weaker ways you can play Shaman. It doesn't make the deck work on its own, but it is a really good tool for that deck in future sets. If more spell damage cards come out, or if more spell damage Shaman cards come out, you could start seeing that synergy really take off and being cool. So I don't want to discount this card and say that this card's bad. I just don't think it'll see play. I think it's a good standalone card, but doesn't have the tools to really make it work yet. Next up, we have Malestrom Portal. This is a 2-mana Shaman card. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, summon a random 1-cost minion. So right off the bat, I think 1-cost minions are too low impact. And we can see that with the Raptor in Druid. That is a 3-drop, it's a 3/2 death rattle, summon a random 1-cost minion. Oftentimes the 1-cost minion off of that isn't really that high impact, and we see that card not being played in a lot of Druid decks. So I'm not too thrilled about this card's potential off the effects. I think you really need to buff this card, like in your deck with spell damage or something, to get any sort of value off of it. So other than that, the effect's only good really against Zoo. And other than that, it has a really narrow range of matchups where it's actually useful to deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, or even deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. Has a pretty narrow field of matchups, so unless the meta is really predictable, I don't see this card being too great. And then Shaman just has better cards that are less situational, that'll be able to do that effect for you. You got your Lightning Storms and what have you that can just do things better than that, or just, staying ahead on board is a better alternative than dealing 1 damage to try and catch up. So I feel like it's not the greatest card. It's just really low impact and it's too situational. Next up, we have Ironforge Portal. This is a 5-mana warrior card. Gain 4 armor, summon a random 4-cost minion. So it's like a really bad Shield Maiden from GVG. Like pretty bad. So the 5-cost slot in warrior is pretty weak at the moment. So that's where there's some potential where you could maybe see control warrior. They don't got any 5-drop to do. Might as well play something that helps contest the board a little bit against aggro, gain 4 armor. Alright, I can see it, I can picture it, it could happen. Now you look at what are the random 4-cost minions. They got a pretty below average stat line, so that's not great. And they're coming down on turn 5, your random 4-cost minion, rather than coming down on turn 4 on curve. So how impactful is the random 4-cost minion? I don't think it's going to be too impactful to play a random 4-cost minion on turn 5 at the earliest. So I don't think the armor gain is enough. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Shield Maiden, and I can't see this card seeing any play at all. I think it's a pretty overcosted card for what it's doing. I think you could probably have put this at 4 mana and it would have seen play in like Control Warrior in sort of a Shield Maiden's style of slot, but at 5 mana it's just too expensive for what you're accomplishing. And even at that rate, like, it's pretty low impact as well to take up one of those card slots of your later game drops, because if you remember, Shield Maiden kind of replaced some of the bombs in Control Warrior. Well, this card can't really replace the bombs in Control Warrior, because then your deck just doesn't do anything. You just gain armor and then die, because the 4-cost minion isn't really as much of a threat as the 5/5 was guaranteed to be, a reliable, decent-sized threat. And then when the meta was figured out, they realized, we need this many 5/5s in our deck to be able to stand up against Druid and other mid-range decks, and then we're good. Ironforge Portal, I don't really feasibly see a random 4-cost minion being able to punch through mid-range decks in the same similar way. So you're still going to have bombs in your deck, and then you have a lot of high-costing cards in your deck. So I don't feel this is going to be too playable in any sort of warrior archetypes. I think it's pretty... Of the portal cards, I think this is the worst portal card. Next up, we have Runic Egg. Now this is a neutral card. It's a 1-mana 0/2 Death Rattle draw card. So the one spot I could see this being okay in, like a lot of people, like even like Frodan said, you just play it in your control deck and then wait around and it invests and then you draw a card later. I think that's not really good. I'd rather play Novice Engineer, honestly, and Novice Engineer is terrible. It could be okay in Aggro Paladin slash Buffetin, potentially. Like, you're able to play it turn 1, and that allows your like Blessing of Mights and Abusive Sergeants to allow you to cash in of the card whenever you want, and trade up with things or force people to trade into it to cash in your card. So suddenly, you get all your buff cards are live because no one wants to kill it and give you a card. So it could be pretty strong there, and also you get to empty your hand for Divine Favor very efficiently. You just throw your Runic Eggs out, your opponents don't kill them, you Divine Favor, and then you buff them and kill them off to get more cards from Divine Favor. So I could see it being pretty good in like those sort of aggro Paladin decks, but I think for control decks, even if you could activate it efficiently, it's too low impact of a card for control decks. You don't see any control decks really playing cards that just draw cards all willy-nilly without having, any sort of body attached to it. It's a cycle card, so its purpose is to make your deck thinner with the benefit of an O2. So for 2 mana and not having to have ways to kill it in your deck, you can play Novice Engineer and get a 1/1 out of it and also make your deck thinner so you have higher potential to find the good cards, which I think would be better in a lot of control decks and isn't seen in control decks because it's too low impact than this card would be. So I don't see it as any potential in control decks. I think it's too low impact in most aggressive decks. The Paladin, they can make up for low impact cards because they have Divine Favor and they can just draw, 8 cards for 3 mana, and they can make up for the fact that they have low impact cards in their deck. I feel like in Zoo, it's going to be too much of a dead card most of the time. You can't really get too many value trades with this off of Direwolf Alpha. No one's playing like 1/1s really. You can't really get too many great value trades off of Abusive Sergeant. Most people aren't playing vanilla 3/2s. So it really has to, struggle trading up with anything other than Power Overwhelming from Zoo. So it's just going to be a pretty dead card and a useless mana investment on the board when you have to be killing them. The whole point of Zoo and most of the early game aggressive decks is to kill your opponent very quickly and efficiently. And if you're waiting around for this to be active and having dead cards in your hand and playing this on turn 1, emitting 0 pressure onto the board, you're going to kill your opponent rather slowly, which isn't really the game plan of the deck. And I think it's too difficult for any of the current combo decks to utilize this card efficiently. So there's potential for Raging Worgen OTK to use this card efficiently with their Wild Pyromancer combos and stuff like that. But again, why would you want to play this for 1 mana when you could just play any other cycle card for 2 mana that cycles immediately, instead of having to wait around until your Wild Pyromancer clear turn to then get cards? It's just inefficient and not great. So I don't see this seeing play in really any other deck besides potentially aggro Paladin slash Buffetin. I don't think it's even going to be great in that deck, and I don't think that deck's going to be very high up on the tier list. So I don't have too much hope for this card. I don't think it's very good. I don't think it'll see too much play.
With me, come inside. Meet your friends at the door. We've got a feast like